Hello, Kevin here with Kevin's Way Works. So it's about 86 degrees out here today. We got a little bit of a light breeze going. Hopefully that's enough to keep us cool while we work on this guy. So what I have in front of me here today is my 2018 Buick Enclave. This guy needs some new front brake pads, so let's go ahead, see if we can get that done. Alright guys, the first thing we want to do before we do anything else is set the parking brake. This can be done with the car powered off. Press the button and the parking brake is now set. So let's go ahead and get this wheel off. So the reason for setting that parking brake is we're going to be working kind of inside the wheel well, and just for safety we don't want the car to be able to roll, so you should set the parking brake. And it's also a good idea to put some chocks or blocks behind the wheels and in front of the wheels so it can't roll either direction. So safety tip from Kevin. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to get this guy on the jack. I'm going to jack it up just enough to where the tire is still touching the ground, but just almost off the ground. And then we'll back out the lug nuts just a tiny bit. Then we'll jack it up all the way, and I'll take the lug nuts out the rest of the way. So after I get it jacked up, I'm going to put it on a jack stand also. And that's going to be placed on the frame rail on the edge, in the same location where the jack from the trunk would go. So let's get this guy off the ground. My block of wood is in the middle of the car. I have to fish that out. We've got to fish our block of wood out because it fell and got stuck under the car. I am not a singer, guys. Not a singer. Oh, it wasn't under there that far, but I really didn't want to crawl up underneath there to get it. Alrighty. The sweat has started. The sweat has begun. Oh, and I tweaked my knee a little bit. My right knee, I think I tweaked the MCL a little bit. I was trying to pop it. It felt like it was sticking. And I was trying to pop it like I've done for the last 40 years. Yeah, it didn't go so well. So now my left knee is bothering me, and I rarely have knee injuries. Anyway, enough stories. Let's go ahead, get this guy up almost all the way. And this guy you barely have to pull, but like 3 or 4 pulls of it and it's off the ground. And I'm going to stop right there. You probably could see on the camera that it started to move, but I think we still have enough pressure to hold it in place. So I'm going to loosen these guys up so we can get them off easier once the car is off the ground. I don't want to use my impact to start them because that damages the cladding. I'm looking all over for the socket, and I have them sitting on the bottom of my rolly cart. That's not the right one. These are 22 millimeters. These are 1/2-inch drive sockets, impact rated, and I have my 1/2-inch extension ratchet. So just going to break these free just a little bit. Just like so. Actually, you know what I need? I forget that these tires are so big, my hands rub on the edges. So I need an extension. Now I just put my weight into this. These are torqued to 140 foot-pounds. All those are broken free. Let's go ahead and lift the car up another inch or 2, and we'll get that wheel off. All right, so that's off the ground enough. I'm going to set that jack stand up against the bottom of the frame rail, and I will put a picture of what I'm talking about up somewhere in this video. Ready. Don't scratch your paint. So I've got that set right where it needs to go. This one has a locking mechanism on it, so I'm making sure it's locked. I'm going to slowly lower this down. And so now I have pressure on the jack and on the jack stand. So both would have to fail for this to come down. So now that these are loosened up, I'm going to use the impact wrench on them, and that'll make things go a lot faster. Got my 22 millimeter, got it on my impact gun, and just whiz them off. I'm going to set them over here next to the jack. Now you should always use a 6-point socket on lug nuts, because if you use a 12-point, you risk damaging the edge of these, especially if you have clad. So this is a cladding. This is a stainless steel clad that's over the top of the lug nut. And if you hit this up with a 12-point, it damages the edges, and then it's hard to get a socket on it the next time you try to take your tires off. So just another tip from Kevin. Somebody got a hold of my Malibu and they damaged the entire one side, all the lug nuts. The other side's fine, but they did damage that one side. So just pull that off just like that, set it out on the side, out of the way. Don't do like what I do and end up with tools all around your bench so you can't even move. So I try to set my tools out of the way so I have room to work and maneuver. So what I'm going to do now, right now, the wheels were facing completely forward. I'm going to turn it this way, and that'll give me really good access to the back here, and it'll also give you a really good view. So let me go ahead and turn that. You have to be careful doing stuff like this if you're on the jacks, because it does move the car as you're turning the wheel. On this vehicle, they turn real easily, even with the car not running. I'm going to try to turn a fan on. I mean, I've got pressure washer going back there. What is a fan on low going to hurt? I'll do my best to remove it later. Can't find the end of the extension cord. There it is. Even if it's on low, this guy going on low. Oh, that's kind of loud. Even low is loud. Low is loud, but if I have to, I'll add my voice in later. Do a voiceover. Oh my goodness. What do you guys think? I can't remember. I think that's 15 millimeters. 17 millimeters. 17 millimeters. You know what, guys? You can't see. Let me get you guys where you can see. There's no reason for you guys to be way back there like that. Crazy guy talking to himself. I got to turn this camera around the other direction. What you guys think? I think that's good. So we've got our trusty 17 millimeter socket. I've got my long 3/8" ratchet. Let's go ahead and break this guy free. Do not use power tools on your guide pins, your guide pin bolt. It'll bend them, and then you'll have shake in your wheel. So hand tools only on these guys. What I'm going to do on this side, you can unscrew these like so, and you can rotate this down like this. Careful not to damage your little cover here. So you can rotate that down out of the way. Now you have access to everything, and this is actually how the service manual tells you to do it. So shoot down out of the way. There's no pressure on the hose that's going to damage it. Now we're going to have to take this off anyway. I was just showing you how that works. What we can do now is we could take the brake pads out if we want. I'm going to do that in a little bit so you can get a better view of it. So that's just to show you how it works and how you can do it. What I'm going to do now, I'm just trying to get this back up in place. I'm going to take this bolt out, and then we're going to take the caliper off, and I'm going to set it on the ground. No, I'm not going to set it on the ground. I'm going to set it on a bin up there so it's not putting pressure on the hose. Another way to do it is you can hang it up on something like the spring. You can try to set it back in here, but it's probably going to end up falling on you. So I put that screw back in, or I put that bolt back in so I can undo this one. All right, that one's broken free. Now you can spin them both out. Oopsie. I want to leave them in just a tiny bit for right now. And we are just dropping bolts everywhere. So I'm going to leave that in just for now, because I need to get you repositioned so you can see what we're going to do. Okay. All right, guys, I've got you placed over here. You got a better view now. I'm going to get a little bin that I use that I hold my tape and stuff in, because it's readily accessible. All right, so now I've got you guys set up. Bin's down there. Let's go ahead and take this caliper off. So take the bolts out. Set them up out of the way. Carefully pull your caliper off. And then I'm just going to set this down on here in this bucket. Just like that. I mean, there's enough hose length where you should be able to set it down like that, so none of that's going to get damaged now. Like I said, you can hang it up here on the springs that are up there. So let's go ahead and take the pads out. Take the springs off, take the pads out, get them out of the way. We don't have to worry about them falling on us. So these just pull out like so. You can discard these. Your new pads will come with new ones. If it doesn't, you probably want to take them back and get ones that do. So these come out like so. You have to turn these ones to get them out because this bar is in the way. So as you can see, that one's good and worn. Still has a little life left on it, but since I've got the new ones and they're this worn, I'm not going to put them back on. I'm going to toss these out of the way. I'm going to pull this back one off. This one you don't have to rotate, it'll come out. But you see the back one, and the other side was like this too. The back one has maybe, I don't know, another 1/16 of an inch or 3/32 of an inch more than the front side does. And I find that on most of the vehicles I work on. Pins float just fine, so it's not a pin issue. It's just the way it works. Oh, and remember to check the wear indicator so you're putting the right pad in the correct position. So we know where this one came from because we can see the markings that were created from the pistons. But if you mix them up with each side, then you're going to have to go look up and see where they go. So they're typically going to go where the rotor's moving that way, pushing them towards the pad. Now that that is off, let's go ahead and break these bolts free. We're going to do it by hand first, and then I'm going to use my impact wrench to get them off the rest of the way because they have thread locker on them, and we'll be here turning for several minutes by hand if we're trying to do it by hand. So let's get those out. These are 21 millimeters. We're going to use an impact socket and my big 1/2 inch ratchet. So get that on there. And this guy's 110 foot-pounds or 111 foot-pounds, I think, plus 15 and 30 degrees. So it's going to take a bit of force to get it broken free. So there we go. Broke free just fine. Give that a couple turns. I think I have a leak. I'm leaking sweat from my glove. Look at that. We got a leak. Well, we'll just have to deal with it. There we go. Be careful not to pull the car off the jack. So that's off. Now, if your car has this automatic dampening suspension, be careful of this device right here. I don't even know what you call it. My impact gun sits just okay in there without touching it. And you see that Loctite on there? These are not torque to yield. You can reuse them. Unless you notice your threads are stretched, and then you should get new ones. But these are reusable, according to the manual. I'm going to go ahead and spin this one back in just a little bit. If I don't, then the bracket's going to want to spin. So, stuck it back in there. I don't know why that one comes off so easily like that. And that one was so hard to get off. So anyway, spin those off the rest of the way. Hold the bracket so you don't drop it on the ground like I almost did. And we'll go ahead and work on this bracket next. All right, I've got my rag in place. Let's go ahead and place the bracket on the rag. First thing we can do is we can take these clips off. So notice how they're different on this style hardware. This side has kind of angled edges on it. It's got that little piece of metal jutting out, and I believe there's a little difference on the inside here as well. So we'll take that off. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So see how this one does not have the clips that come down? They're just not there. So that's the one that has this little, I'm not really even sure what that one is. Let's just say that's the top one. So the top one has that little ear on it. Let's see what this bottom one looks like. So this bottom one has the inside ears on it. I don't know that the new ones have that. I think they're all the same. So we'll go ahead and check though. Those are trash unless you don't have them with your new kit for some reason. Like I said though, if you don't, you want to go back and get a better kit because they should always come with new hardware. That's the new brake pads. I use AC Delco. Part number if you want it. Has the AC Delco part number and the GM part number. Now I've already done the other side, so I've already opened these up and used the ones for the other side. So, but take a look at these clips. As you can see, these don't have the ears that come down on them like this one does. This one does not. All four were like that. All four were identical. And so we're going to put these on either place. They are completely Identical. I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the way so we can clean up this caliper bracket. So, no rock salt here. Everything's pretty clean. So I'm just going to take a brass brush. Just kind of hit up in there just to get that junk out. Kind of hard to do because I'm catching the towel. Okay, got all that junk off. I'm going to take this old rag here, and we're going to spray those off a little bit and just wipe them down. That's ready to go. Let's do this other side. All right, that's done. While we're at it, let's take these pins out and take a look at them. So I'm going to pull it out this way if I can. And I'm just going to take this entire boot off for right now. And I'm going to clean this pin real good. These pins, I don't know if somebody got to these, but this grease in here is kind of thick. So I'm going to wipe this grease off and re-grease these. Make sure you use a clean rag. I set mine down on the ground and now it has grass particles in it. Oh, before I grease that though, I'm going to put this boot back on. And I'm going to pull it up as far as it'll go. And then we're going to grease this. And then we're going to slide it back in. And that'll just help to keep from wiping all the grease off. So that should be sufficient. Go ahead and stick it back in the slot. And go ahead and make sure that gets popped in all the way without damaging it. Guys, I'm trying to do this left-handed. I am not a lefty. So I'm going to flip it around. Pop that all back in. All right. That is ready to go. Just dripping sweat everywhere here. Just check it out all the way around. Make sure everything's good. This one I'm going to do the other way so you guys can see what happens. It's actually easier to do it this way. So if you pull it out like this, and when you slip it back in, you just got to be careful not to wipe it all off. Okay. Just like so. So to me, that's easier than trying to pull it entirely out. That way works easier for me. But I just wanted to show you both ways that I see people do it. Alrighty then. Now what we're going to do is get those clips, which I have totally lost. I'm going to take my clips. I like to put a little grease behind these, and a service manual actually says to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on here. Just to avoid putting a bunch on, then I go and put a giant glob on. So, just going to put a little on, like so. A little on these little knobs here. And this just helps with any noise. Try not to get anything on the inside edges so you don't get it on your rotor. Now I got a little too much on here. I'm going to wipe some off or else it's going to ooze out. So you can go ahead and just snap that on. Like so. Just like that. Just make sure I didn't get anything on the inside. So let's go ahead and do the other side. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Doesn't need a lot. Slide it on. Snap it in place. Just like that. So these brake pads ride in these slots here. Actually, this one goes on the other side, but they ride in those slots. I'm not going to grease the slots themselves, because what's going to happen is if I grease those, it's going to get all over the rotor. It happens every time. So I'm going to put these in first, then I'm going to put grease on the edge of the pads, and then we're going to put the pads on, and that'll get things greased up good. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to get that rotor off. If your rotors are good, sometimes I'll just slap new pads on there. Other times I will take the rotors off and I will lightly sand the surface just to break the glaze. So I'll go ahead and show you that whole process. All right, there's our rotor. Got you a good front view here. Since we are in an area where we don't get rust, this should come right off. But before we can take it off, we have to take this little screw out. And this screw doesn't have very high torque. Let me get you moved over. You're not gonna be able to see this. The torque on this screw is like 81 inch-pounds, something like that. I don't have the thing in front of me. This is a T30. And since this is nice and clean, it should break off pretty easily. I'm gonna use a 1/4 inch drive bit, a 1/4 inch socket, and we'll go ahead and break that off. That should come off easily, like I said, because we don't have anything that would corrode it in place. So I'm just going to use my socket and ratchet, and you saw it didn't even take much at all to loosen that up. And you can already see the rotor is free. But these things protrude through the back of the hub assembly, and they'll get corrosion on the back, and that's what really locks them in place so you can't get them out. Okay, so this rotor, as you saw, it was loose. You may need to take some PB Blaster or some other type of penetrant, squirt it in these holes, try to get it down around this hub assembly, because really what's going to hold them on is a little bit of rust around the hub itself, but also if you have rust buildup around this center here. So this one's just going to fall right off pretty much. So there you go. Very easy. So let me go get you set up. I'll show you how you can kind of surface this a little bit without damaging it. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, you're set up on my outdoor workbench. I'm going to place these pieces of wood here, and I'm going to place the rotor right there. Let me get you guys a little better view. How's that? Does that look good? Looks pretty good. All right, so the key to this is not to gouge the surface. If you use a grinder, you're most likely going to leave gouges in the surface. Before you do this, you should check your thickness with a caliper. If you're not having any braking issues and your thickness is good, it should be perfectly safe to do what I'm about to show you what I do with mine. And guys, I have cars with 330,000 miles on them with the original rotors that are barely worn. And this is how I do them when I change the pads. If I do this at all, sometimes I just slap pads on. I have a variable speed polisher. And this is a sanding disc made for sanding metal. So this thing will last a long time. If you try to use an orbital sander and you're using, wood sandpaper, you'll get like 3 inches in and your sandpaper will be done. So use the correct sandpaper and this will go a lot better. So there's 2 things I'm going to do here. I'm going to put pressure on this side first, and that's going to give me a hatch pattern, a cross pattern going this way. And then I'm going to put pressure on the other side, and that's going to give me the pattern going this way. And that's going to give me about a 45 degree, maybe a little less. It just depends on how you hold it. But it's going to give me a cross hatch pattern, and it's going to break the glaze. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got it on a 2 right now. Let's see what that gives me. I'm going to turn this as I go so I'm not in the way of the camera. I'm going to hit it up one more time because that time I really only did the inside there, and I have a hole in my glove, so water is getting out of my thumb hole. So I'm going to hit it up again. I'm going to try to focus a little further out. Rotate it 180 degrees. Hit it up again. So there is a tiny lip on this, and that's why I'm not getting it completely gone on that part, but that's okay. So now I'm going to go the opposite direction. And I'm going to put pressure on the opposite side, and that'll give me the hatch pattern, the cross hatch pattern. So I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but we are getting a nice cross hatch pattern on that. So that's as far as I'm going to take it. That's plenty. If you have really deep grooves and ridges in yours, it's best to just replace it, or the O'Reilly auto parts around here, they will resurface them. I don't know if others still do, but all the ones around here do. And if they don't, they send it out to be done. But they will do it. And some of them will tell you, it's not worth it, just go buy new rotors. Well, it's $100 a piece rotor or more. That's $400 for your rotors when you can just have them resurfaced for like $15 each. Or you can use what I'm using and do it for the cost of sandpaper. You also should inspect the surface to make sure you don't have any cracks or anything like this. This one doesn't. It has little marks on it, but those are from rust as the car sat in the driveway when it rained. And so there'll be like marks where the pads left kind of their image in it, and it's just from a little bit of corrosion from sitting after rain. Perfectly fine. All right, so I'm going to do this side. Now, I just went back and forth a few times on that just to make it a little quicker, so I didn't have to flip it so many times. And you should wear a mask when you do this. You don't want to breathe in that dust. Plus, metal dust, steel dust, just tastes horrible. And you'll end up tasting it for days in your nostrils. So anyway, I don't know why I flipped it over. We're going to do the other edge now. All right, let's go ahead and do the other direction. I have this a little over 2. 2 is about 1200 RPMs, 3 is 2000. So we're probably at 1400 RPMs. So I calculated revolutions using my camera. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can use the magnet. You can tape a magnet to it. And most cameras have a sensor in them and they can sense the magnet spinning. That's one way to do it. Another is you can put a piece of tape on here, put your camera on the slow-mo mode, and then you can count the revolutions, and then you can calculate RPMs. So I actually did it both ways and it was pretty much identical. All right, just got water on it. We're gonna get rust. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna finish this up the other direction again. So that's done. I'm not gonna do any more. It's deglazed enough to where it should bed in fine. Probably should have gone with a brand new sheet of sandpaper, but that was my last 120 grit and I actually had to cut it down from a larger disc. But I'm happy with that. That's perfectly good to go back on. So let's go ahead and get that thing cleaned up. Before we do that, let's clean this surface up. Now, if you have a rotor that has a ceramic coating or a paint coating, you may not want to do this unless it's all rusted through, because you're going to remove that coating. So this does appear to have a coating on it. So I'm not going to go at it too hard, just cleaning it up. On the back side, can you see inside there? There's a little bit of rust in there, but it's actually not where the hub rubs. It's not actually where the hub mounts to. It's on the inside, and there's actually a gap there. The hub actually rides on this ring and this outer ring. It doesn't ride on the middle. Oops. See, I just got sweat on it, which is going to accelerate the rust. All right, that's clean. I'm going to blow it out. My gloves are full of sweat. Don't breathe the dust in. Got my towel. I'm going to spray my towel. That way it won't evaporate as fast. I don't mean off the disc brakes. I mean it won't evaporate. We won't have to keep spraying it over and over again. I got to get a different towel. That towel is done for. I'm just going to use paper towel. Just like so. Flip it over. A little bit more. That's all you need to do. Let's go ahead and get this set back up at the car and we'll get it reinstalled. Guys, while we're here, let's go ahead and clean the rust off of the mating surface right here on the hub. Right on around here. They make a tool. I mean, you can get kind of like a pad like this on a drill. They make one that actually goes over the studs. That you can get down in there. I'm just going to do it by hand since these are nice and clean, really. The inside's hard to get to, but you can get it. You can get it. You can do it. Sorry. Sorry, I'm in the way. Good enough, good enough. I'm running everything over here. Now you can spray this down with brake parts cleaner. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not even going to wipe it. The brake part's cleaner. Sprays it all off for you. Now, if you don't like to waste it like me, I'll usually clean it off, but trying to get up in there with a rag is a pain in the behiney. And if you noticed, I couldn't do the gloves anymore. There's like a half gallon of sweat in each one. All right, let's get this rotor back on. Doesn't really matter which way you put it. I am going to install it facing the same way it was, and we'll put that screw back in. So watch your fingers. Where'd that screw go? Right about there. Push it on. Grab your screw and your Torx T30. Screw her on in there. I'm going to screw it by hand until it makes contact. Like so. And this is 80 inch-pounds. Hopefully you could read that. Got my 1/4 inch socket, 1/4 inch drive torque wrench, and 80 inch-pounds. When you're done with your torque wrench, back it down to the lowest setting, and that helps keep it pretty accurate. All right, that is in there good. This really is just holding it on there so we can then assemble without it flopping all over the place. Because this is a real pain in the behind to do when this is all loose and floppy. All right, guys, next thing we have to do is get that caliper bracket on. So let me get you repositioned and we'll do that. All righty. Before we put our bolts on, if you're reusing yours, make sure you go ahead and put some thread locker on it, like so. I'm going to do one at a time. Take your bracket, try not to get grease on anything. Hold your bracket in place, and then try to find that screw hole. Don't cross thread it. Same thing with the other one. A little bit of blue thread locker on there. That should be sufficient. That's actually probably more than sufficient. And screw that bolt in. Get them started. I'm going to run them in with the impact. I'm not going to actually tighten them. I'm just going to get them down there till they're almost touching. Or just about touching. You saw that ran in pretty quick. Runs in a lot quicker with that Loctite on there to help lube it up. Set your torque wrench at 111 foot-pounds. And we're going to have to pick up to tighten these. Just be careful not to knock it off the jack stands. Let's just do both of them. All right. I'm going to use my other ratchet just because it has a grip on it that's easier to hold on to. And we're going to do 15 degrees more, 15 to 30 degrees more. Right about there. And those are done. Okay. So the next step is to push the pistons into the caliper. So let's go ahead and get those in place. I'm going to set them up here, and I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to go ahead and reach down in front of you guys. Let me grab this guy. I'm going to set it right there so it doesn't put any strain on anything. Actually, I'm going to move you guys. I think that's going to be a better view right there. What you guys think? Right there. Let me go get the tools required. Required tool number 1 is your old brake pad. Just set it in there. I mean, it doesn't matter which way. And then it says to get yourself a big C-clamp. This is the biggest C-clamp I have, and this one is big enough. You're going to place it right about there. Kind of trying to push it towards the inside as far as I can, just to help push the other piston down. It should push them both down because it's got that rigid backer on there. So it doesn't take a lot. Oh, another thing, and a very important thing. Very important. Check your brake fluid reservoir again, especially if you've already done one side, or you've done the rear and then one side, or you're just starting on this side. Make sure your brake fluid reservoir is not past, I'd say, between min and max, maybe no further than halfway up that line. Any higher and then you risk pushing brake fluid out all over the ground. Also, crack your brake fluid cover, and that just helps the air come out better as you push that fluid back up into the reservoir. So, another tip from Kevin. Let's go ahead and tighten this clamp and push these pistons on in. So this side is going to go down first because you're pressing on that side. So you may end up having to do both sides, and sometimes you may have to alternate. Because as you can see right now, the clamp is wanting to turn. I mean, if you crank it hard enough, it's going to start bringing the other side down. Let's go ahead and try that. So yeah, you see the other side is going down too. So it doesn't require much force to bring it down. I'm barely turning it. And both of those are pretty much all the way in. If you want to, you can move this clamp over. Just be careful, you need to go around the back side of the hose. And then you can just give this side an extra clamp too, because it is up a little higher still. It's still not all the way down. So now it's all the way down. And you can also do two clamps. You can do one clamp over there, one clamp over here. I like to use those clamps. I'll show you. I actually have one here. I like to use these quick vices. This is what I usually use on them. And these work really good too. So that's just another option. All right, that's compressed and ready to go. Go ahead and remove your C-clamp. Remove that brake pad. And if you're feeling like it, now's a good time to give these eyes a little cleaning. These are nice and clean. Well, you know what I mean. They're not, it's not like it's been through a whole bunch of brake jobs. And so it cleans up real easy since these are factory. And they don't actually put grease on these from the factory because the shims on the back are supposed to be anti-squeal shims. So these shims are what make it not squeal. These shims actually have grease behind them. So these are actually fancier shims than what are on the new ones. The new ones don't have that double layer. At least I don't think they did. Well, let's take a look. Yeah, these new ones don't have a double layer in them. And they don't have grease in there. We're going to put a little bit of grease in here. And actually the service manual says to put grease behind the shim. I don't know if it says to put grease on the back side. I always do. Never had any issues doing that. It does collect dust and it makes a little mess the next time you go to change them, but it's not a big deal. All right, so let's get this guy back down and then we'll get these pads ready to go. What we're going to do right now, we're going to get messy. Oh, here, check this out. All items shown in red are lubrication points. Lubricate with a Sudelco silicone brake lube. So it's telling you where to apply lube. So it does say to apply lube on the back. It says it on the edge there. This particular brake, it's a little different style, but it does mean to apply it on this edge. So that's neat. I didn't even notice that last time. I was like, hey, this one doesn't have instructions. They're right on the box. They're right on the box, goofball. Alrighty. So, man, when I talk, my talking makes these jobs take forever. Somehow I have lost my brake lube. So this is actually a ceramic based, has ceramic solids in it. I've always used this. I've had this for many, many years, probably a decade. And it goes on all my vehicles. And I never have any squeals. Okay, enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and get these pads on. So if you remember me saying, I'm going to put the goo on the pad. I don't want to put it in here. It ends up getting pushed up all over the rotor, and then it's really hard to get down in there to clean it off. So this is the pad for the inside. The wear indicator goes up, so the rotor turns into it instead of pulls it out. So this is the correct one for the correct side. I'm going to take this grease. I'm going to put it on the edge here. Like that. Just like this. Just on the edge. Don't get it on the other side or else it's going to get on the rotor. Oop. A little too much on that one. So now then we're going to take the pad. This one just slides right in. Like so. You may have to push up on a bracket, but in that case it went right in. That one's good. And ready to go. Let's go ahead and do the next side. So here's the outside one. Put a little dab there and there. If you get any on this face there, you can clean it off afterwards. Just like that. So, got a little much on the face there. I'm going to take a rag and just wipe it off. Like that. Now this one, you have to rock it in place. You got to put it in kind of like that, and then rock it in place. So that's how those two go. And they're all ready. So I'm going to take this caliper now, I'm going to pull it up here, and I'm going to install the bottom bolt, and that'll hold it in place. And then we'll put a little grease on the pistons and on the other side. So I've got one of the bolts ready. I'm going to grab this caliper. Hold it right about there. Oh yeah, oh, another thing. These have to be properly positioned so they sit in this notch. If they're not properly positioned, you can't even get the screw in. So in that case, it was properly positioned. I'm going to let that hang. That should be okay. If you want, you can support it a little bit. I'm going to take some of this lube and just put a little bit on the piston. Not a lot. So they don't have it from the factory. A little bit on the outside here. Like that. Now here's the fun part. Trying to get that installed without getting grease all over your hands. So if you don't grease it, it's not an issue. If you do grease it, make sure you have gloves on. I'm going to try to do this without making a mess. And the reason you're going to end up making a mess is you have to put these clips on, and they're going to force pads out, and you have to hold them in place. So if you go in and you put the caliper on, and you've already got lube on here, you're going to get it everywhere. That's why I put it on like I did, because I'm going to rock it in place. And once this is holding right here, I'm going to put this clip in. So let me see if I can get you positioned where you can actually see this happen. Let's try right there. That should give you a little good of a view. A little good of a view. That should give you a good enough of a view. So this clip, there's two holes. There's a hole here, there's a hole here. So obviously this goes right here. These are spring loaded. Put the other one in right there, like that. Now take your caliper, rotate it up until it's holding them in place so they won't flop out. And this is the tricky part. We're going to try to get this clip in without everything opening up. So put that clip in right there, pull it over, put that clip in, and if all went well, we should be able to put it in there without making a mess. Oh yeah, baby. And like I said, make sure that this is turned properly. If you have it turned like this, you can't get the bolt in. Like that, the bolt won't go in. So see, the bolt won't go in. So turn this like so that sits in there, and then you can install the bolt. Hand tightened. That's a true hand tightening right there. All right, before you put everything back together, just give it a look over. Make sure you've torqued everything. Make sure you have your clips on. Make sure you have grease where your grease is supposed to go. Oh, you know what, guys? We forgot to put grease somewhere. All right, let's take it off. See, like I said, you're always gonna end up with grease all over your fingers because I done goofed up. I goofed up. I wanted to put grease behind those plates, remember? See, that's why you always double check. Now we are going to make a mess. Man, I thought we had a perfect brake job there, guys. Perfect brake job. Well. Oh well. Only got a little bit on my fingers this time. Last time it was everywhere. So, let me get you repositioned. Actually, I'm just going to leave you where you are. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take this cover off like that, and I want to put a little grease on the back. So let's go ahead and do that. So I just wanted to put a little bit on the back of this, like they have it from the factory. Just like so. Take our plate, put it back on. So, just like that. Make sure you don't have any grease on the surface or on your fingers, and then just go pop it back in. Get the other side. I'm going to just pop this off while it's still on. That makes it a lot easier. I don't know where that goofy laugh came from. I don't normally make that laugh. All right, hopefully you can see that. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Doesn't need to be a lot. And then we're going to try to slap that back on. Like so. That wasn't too bad. I thought that was going to make a mess. Hold this together. Take your clip. Put your clip back in. Like that. Uh-oh, don't want to go in. Flip this up until it makes contact. Learn from my mistakes, guys. Obviously, when I started working on cars, we didn't even have internet. I mean, it existed, but we didn't know about it. Get that in there, like so. Push it in place. So we only had trial and error and Chilton and Haynes manuals. Actually, we still have those. They're not as detailed anymore. They're online. You can get them online. They're pretty good online. A lot of times, if you have a public library subscription, they'll have access to online automotive repair manuals, and it's all digital, and it's like every car that is in existence that has Chilton guides. You can see them all going back for many, many decades. All right, guys. So let's think about it again. Did we do everything? Clips are on. Grease the back of the silencing plate. Grease the other side. Greased over there. Greased our pins. Torqued our caliper bolts. So all we have left to do now is torque those caliper pin bolts. Let's go ahead and do that. These get torqued to 53 foot-pounds. 35, 45, 40, 50, 53 foot-pounds. No idea if you guys can see that. No idea. Take your 17 millimeter socket. Oh, guys, my knee is really starting to tighten up. Oh. Hope I don't end up having to have artificial knees when I'm older. My father has an artificial knee, artificial hip, artificial shoulder. Talking about doing his other knee and his other hip. Just getting a little bit of grease that got on there off. And just go over everything one last time. While you're back here, it's a good time to inspect. Make sure that your boots are all good. There's a boot there, there's a boot there. Make sure ball joints are good if you want. Look for any leaks in your strut. In our case, everything looks good. These hoses are good. Everything's good to go. So I'm going to turn this wheel facing straight ahead again, and we'll go ahead and get the wheel assembly back on there. So here we go. What you guys think? Did we get it? Yeah, we got it. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. All right, guys. Let's get that wheel back on. Kind of rock it up there with your feet. I got this one a little turned. So get it in place with my feet. Pick it up with my feet. Rock it on in. Just like so. Put our 6 lug nuts on. And if you're real fancy, you can do both hands at the same time if you want. Speed up the process a bit. All right, I'm going to let that go for a sec because I can't reach my impact gun. Oh, 22 millimeter. I'm just going to run it down until it's almost touching, or just barely touching. Just like that. A little too much. No, I'm kidding. That's actually fine. Because remember, these are 140 foot-pounds. They're 140 foot-pounds. So this impact gun will do that. But then you don't know if you actually have 140. You're kind of at a guess at that point. So I always torque with a torque wrench. Ooh, getting a hand cramp. So that's at 140 foot-pounds. I'm actually going to move you guys over this side. I'm going to move you guys right about there. And as usual, I'm going to set you down a little bit until the wheel touches. But before I can do that, I got to jack it up a little so I can get the jack stand out. So jack stand is out. Now I'm going to let it down. We should be... No, we're not there yet, guys. It looked like it moved. Okay, so we're just barely touching. Let's go ahead and torque these to 140 foot-pounds. Start rate, let's start here. And then you're going to go across. And then you're going to go across like that. And then you're going to go straight across this way. And then you're going to go right here. And then finally, straight across to here. So that is the correct torque pattern. Any combination of that, I mean, you can go this way, you can go this way. You can start on any bolt, doesn't matter. The idea is just to try to keep a start pattern to the furthest bolt possible that you haven't torqued yet. Now I'm just going to go around. I always double check. I usually don't miss any, but I always double check. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and let the car down the rest of the way. Now we are up under the hood. If you had cracked the lid open on your brake fluid reservoir, go ahead and close that up now. While you're in here, check your fill level. And as you can see, ours is about halfway up this container up here. There is actually a reservoir underneath here. I'm not exactly sure where the min mark is. The max mark is on the other side here. It's hard to see. I'll see if I can get you a good shot of that. But it's probably about 1/4 of an inch down from the top of that edge. But as you can see, we have plenty of fluid in here still. I have not done the rear brakes yet. They're not ready. They still have a lot of life on them. And so that's going to account for why this is down a little low. The only other reason that this should ever be low is if you have a leak somewhere and you're losing brake fluid. So over here on this side, there's a little wording right here that says max, and it has an arrow to a line. So that's the actual max marking on this reservoir. All right, guys, that's it for this step. Okay, so we just checked the brake fluid level. You may want to check it again after this step. It really shouldn't make a whole lot of difference, but it's always best to check. So now that we're done with the brake pads, we have to press the brake pedal down a couple times, maybe a little more, just to make sure that we have that free play that we created by pushing the pistons in. We need to make sure we have that removed so they're nice and tight like they should be. They should still have a little bit of room to them, but that's just the normal operation of the braking system. So for this step, while the car is turned off, just go ahead and step on your brake pedal, slowly depress it. About 2/3 of the normal travel. Go ahead and hold it there for a second, release it. Go ahead and press it again. And just do that a few times until it's pretty hard. So the first time you do it, it'll go down pretty far. And then each subsequent time, it should get less and less until it's hard again. So that's it. That's all you have to do to take up that slack between the pistons and the new brake pads and the rotors. The next step is to turn off the parking brake. To do that, we have to start the vehicle. So put your foot on the brake, press the start button. Let's wait for the bing bings to stop. And I think we're good. So first thing you have to do is step on the brake, and then you can press the parking brake button. And the parking brake is now released. So that's done. You're good to go. Okay, everybody. So there is one final step that you should do after changing your brake pads and either changing your rotors or resurfacing your rotors. And that is what's called brake pad and rotor burnishing. And so what that basically does is it seats your new brake pads into your new rotors, and it actually deposits some material on the rotor itself, and it's supposed to be a necessary part of a brake job process. I'll go ahead and read you what this guide says to do. And so you can go ahead and do it yourself if you feel it is something you want to do. So the first step, it says, is to select a smooth road with little or no traffic. Accelerate the vehicle to 30 miles per hour. Use moderate to firm pressure and apply the brakes to bring the vehicle to a complete stop. Do not allow the brakes to lock up. And the final steps. So basically, you're going to repeat that process until you've done it at least 20 times. And that's supposed to be what you need to do to burnish your rotors and brake pads. Oh boy, guys, I am so glad that's done. It's messy, and it's hot, and I'm thirsty. But we got it done. Everything went great. We did have that one little hiccup where I forgot to grease the back of those little plates. Even if we didn't, it still would have been fine. I doubt it would have squealed any. So anyway, pretty easy job. And I'm glad we don't have to do it again for another 80, 90, 100,000 miles. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I want to thank you for watching me on Kevin's Way Works. Uh-oh.